are ready?
We are good to go.
Okay. Welcome to the Bedminster Township Committee meeting of April 1, 2019. It is 7:02, and I recognize that we have full attendance from the Township Committee. Ms. Sullivan, can we have the Open Public Meetings Act statement?
Yes, Mr. Mayor. Adequate notice of this meeting of the Township Committee was sent to the Courier News in Somerville and to the Burnsville News in Whippany, also to all subscribers, and posted here at the Municipal Building as of January 7th, 2019.
Thank you. Please join me in standing for the Pledge of Allegiance.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Once again, thank you everyone for joining us tonight. And the first matter of business is the approval of minutes. We have 2 minutes to approve. This is the regular Township Committee meeting minutes of March 18 and the closed session meeting minutes of March 18. Any comments that have not otherwise been provided to Ms. Sullivan?
No.
Okay, can we have a motion to approve the minutes?
So moved. Second. Roll call vote, or no, all in favor?
Aye.
Thank you all.
Okay, we have a few permits and raffles.
The most ever.
It goes up to letter N. And as is tradition here, we will read them.
Take a deep breath, Mayor.
Okay. First raffle is a raffle license for the Women's Club of Tewksbury, a raffle held at Fiddler's Elbow Country Club on May 17, 2019 from 6:30 p.m. to 11 p.m. It's an on-premise merchandise. Next is social affair permit for Children's Specialized Hospital Foundation, Inc., event held at Trump National Golf Club on June 24, 2019 from 7 a.m. to 4 p.m. Next, raffle license for Gill St. Bernard's Parents Association, held at Hamilton Farm Golf Club on May 6, 2019 from 7:30 a.m. to 8 p.m. on-premise merchandise. Next, social affair permit for Gill St. Bernard School, event held at Hamilton Farm Golf Club on May 6, 2019 from 7:30 a.m. to 8 p.m. Next, social affair permit for New Jersey Turfgrass Foundation, event held on May 6, 2019 at Fiddler's Elbow Country Club from 4 p.m. to 7 p.m. Next, social affair permit for the Willow School, event held at Hamilton Farm Golf Club on April 27, 2019 from 6 p.m. to 11:59 p.m. Next, social affair permit for the Friends of the Jacobus Vanderveer House, event held at the Jacobus Vanderveer House on June 1, 2019 from 6 p.m. to 10 p.m. Next, social affair permit for the Hunterdon Healthcare Foundation, event held at Fiddler's Elbow Country Club on May 9, 2019 from 5:30 p.m. to 9 p.m. Next is a social affair permit for Mainstream, Inc., event held at Redtail Farm on June 8, 2019 from 6 p.m. to 11 p.m. We have a few more. Social affair permit for Lamington Presbyterian Church, event held at Lamington Presbyterian Church on May 10, 2019 from 6 p.m. to 10 p.m. Next is a raffle license for Pottersville Volunteer Fire Company, raffle held at the Pottersville Volunteer Fire Company on July 27, 2019, off-premise merchandise. Next is a raffle license for Hunterdon Healthcare Foundation, raffle held at Fiddler's Elbow Country Club on May 13, 2019 from 8 a.m. to 5 p.m. off-premise 50/50. Next is the raffle license for Hunterdon Healthcare Foundation, raffle held at Fiddler's Elbow Country Club on May 13, 2019 from 8 a.m. to 5 p.m. on-premise merchandise. And last is the raffle license for Hunterdon Healthcare Foundation, raffle held at Fiddler's Elbow Country Club on May 9, 2019 from 5:30 p.m. to 9 p.m. on-premise merchandise. Any comments or questions regarding any of the raffles or permits that we've just walked through?
Nope.
Judy, any color on any of them?
No, it's just a really busy spring.
Well, it sounds like a lot of charitable events going on, so that's good news. Motion to approve.
I'll make that motion.
Second. All in favor?
Aye.
Thank you. All opposed? Thank you. All move forward.
Okay. As is custom here in Bedminster, we have 2 public comment sections during the meeting. This is the first of the public comment sections. If there is anyone who wishes to get up and make a statement or question or give a comment about anything that is not otherwise on the agenda tonight, now's your first opportunity to do so. There will be a second opportunity later in the meeting, but if someone wants to come up now and pose something, now's a good time to do it. Okay. Next is monthly report discussions by subcommittee chairs, and we will start on my right with Mr. Stevenson.
Thank you, Mayor. Good evening, everybody. Since last meeting, we've had a couple liaison meetings. The first was Historic Preservation Committee meeting. Good meeting, through a couple applications. Interesting to see what's going on in town and what that committee is doing to make sure that everything's staying within confines of the historical area. So we've got the old Carl Posey property across from Bedminster Pizza, something going in there. Facelift, there was a sign on Main Street that we sent back because it was a little too busy. And then there's a barrier, there's that site there, it was got approvals for the facades. And then there was another one for the Cancer Center over on Burnt Mills for a nice little addition of building, so it was good to see. DPW, Colin and I met with John Mans this past week, talked about some of the paving issues, putting stuff in the queue, and we're still working through the personnel, I should say, issue, which we'll talk about later. But all seems to be for a bet. Stacy can talk about later the HR consultant meeting that we went through. I'll let you speak to that. I thought that went well. We've got Hills Master Association meeting coming up later in April. It's on this docket, if you will. And then, of course, we had the sewer staff meeting last week. Everything's flowing, everything's good.
It's good when the sewage, so when the sewage is not flowing, that's a problem.
That's right. So, everything's healthy there. It looks like we'll have some news coming out of that committee in the months to come. So, we're positive.
Great. Colin.
Mr. Mayor, thank you. Good evening, all. A couple updates from Rec. First off, Robin Ray wanted to let everybody know that the Easter egg hunt is scheduled for Saturday, April 20th, 12 noon, rain shine. Just want to make sure everybody knows about that. Also, since it's April 1st, a couple things are starting today. Summer camp registration starts today. The summer camp employment forms were available today for prospective CITs and counselors, as well as summer camp community service forms are available today for students who are entering 8th grade and above. It's also opening day for all our fields. Come out and enjoy them. Hopefully the weather cooperates. And want to let everybody know that the county is inviting municipal officials and the public to participate in the second round of comments for their walk, bike, and hike recommendations. That will be held on Thursday, April 11th from 6 to 8 at 20 Grove Street in Somerville. Robin Ray and I will be attending tomorrow. There's a pre-meeting to get some input from municipal officials, so we'll be there tomorrow. And Mayor, welcome your comments and all comments from everybody else on the committee as we prepare for the meeting on the 11th. Quick update on Board of Health. We had 2 septic applications that were reviewed and approved. We also discussed DEP's reclassification of certain waterways to C1 status, which will require that any septic construction in undisturbed areas within 300 feet of a C1 watercourse obtain a DEP permit. So that's going to require additional level of approval from folks seeking to update or upgrade their septic systems. The BOH engineer also indicated that tributaries to C1 waterways would also be included. So that would expand the areas that are potentially impacted by this DEP update. And Mayor, that is all for right now.
Okay, thank you. Just a quick note on the Category 1 expansion, the Category 1 water expansion. So I did reach out to folks at DEP through the DEP Commissioner's Office, see if we could get someone from DEP to come here to talk to us about this rule proposal. It has not happened yet. It is only a proposed rule. However, DEP was not willing to send someone out here until actually the rule was acted upon, either approved or not approved. So they're still in a public comment period. Public comment period, I believe, goes through to the beginning of May. What we are trying to do is we are trying to work with our various professionals, and certainly our boards, Board of Health, and our town engineer, to put together and provide some input to the residents and property owners who may be affected by the Category 1 expansion, and some more on that as events develop. And Ms. Santucci.
Thank you, Mayor. Just something that's coming up, April 10th. Colin and I have the Community Development Board, don't forget, April 10th, 2 to 3 in Somerville. That's something that's coming up. We had our Fall Fest meeting. I'll let Judy talk a little bit about that because I was unable to go. So I'm going to ask Judy to fill us all in, including myself. And as Doug said, we met with some HR consulting candidates. I thought our meetings went very well, as he said, and we'll update you as we move forward with that process. And that's all I have.
Good. Thank you. Ms. Moreski.
Thank you, Mayor. Thank you, everyone, for coming. Jacobus Vanderveer House has a bunch of things going on this summer. The first event is April 7th. Bob Mayers will be there. He has written the book Revolutionary New Jersey, Forgotten Crossroads and Towns of the American Revolution. It's a 1 o'clock presentation that day and book signing. May 10th through 12th and 18th through 19th. John Philip Osborne. He's a painter of revolutionary objects. Many of the paintings are in JBH already. So if you like that kind of art, 2 weekend things to do. Leading up to the Summer Soiree fundraiser for the JBH. That's June 1st at JBH. It'll be live music by these two guys, the guys we had at Farmers Market. It'll be a casual cocktail party. I believe red, white, and blue is the theme. It will be hors d'oeuvres, open bar, and there'll be a tent out back on the site where the barn will be, I believe. The event is being held for the general operating fund, so we should get everybody going there. And the flag sponsors, there's a flag sponsorship available. You know, we had the flags last year. Well, we'll be able to sponsor them again this year.
That's the Field of Honor?
That's the Field of Honor, yep. Sorry. Okay, so that's GBH. Then last Friday, I met with this fine group. It was Colin, Dawn March from HVMA, then Jeff, Joan, Jackie from HVNFA, who also has, who else is in that group? Jerry and John. So I guess it's only J's that are allowed in your organization. I was going through my head this morning. Who was at that meeting? It was discussing the power outages at the Duck Pond area in specific, and the members of the HVNA group had put together the letters that have gone back and forth between JCP&L and a enormous spreadsheet item by item of all the power outages. That information, I believe, has gone to Tom Haynes. Dawn spoke with him, and Tom Haynes and his engineers will be reviewing all that information. They're going to be going back 4 years, I believe, of incidents, see what they can come up with as far as reasons why the power has gone out, and try to come up with a plan. Our role as TC, Colin and I will be the point people for making sure that plan, whatever it comes up to be, will be implemented and is moved along. Suggestions from the group from HVNMA was to have them come back at least once a month to let us know how they're doing, to let them know that this is important to us and we want to see that they're moving along. Another suggestion from the group was that JCP&L should perhaps look at one of the neighborhoods where there aren't power outages, see what's going right, and then perhaps just go one neighborhood at a time, fix that neighborhood, and then perhaps be able to use those fixes were to do the next one and not just kind of shoot with a shotgun to see how to fix it. These guys have been really good about spending time looking at all these kinds of things that are going on in their neighborhood, including looking at equipment that isn't in such great shape. They had forwarded that a couple years ago. JCP&L fixed 2 of the pieces. 1 is still to be replaced, so I know that's something that we can talk to Tom about. The group brought up questions about shouldn't power be automatically be able to be turned back on once it goes out, And from what I was reading, sometimes it can, sometimes it can't. It depends on what the problem was. But Colin and I will follow up with this, with that group, and with Tom, and see where it goes. And we can keep it on old business, and just make sure that we talk about it every month, and we'll reach out to Tom, and him back here on a regular basis.
There was just a quick aside. I got an alert on Sunday morning that there was a power outage. And my first outreach was really to Jeff and to Dawn to say, hey, is this outage out in your area? And also inquired directly to JCP&L. Found out it was on Pottersville Road, affected folks in the Pottersville section of town, and this time it was not your neighborhood. Somewhere else in town, and it was also, once again, it was a tree. So a tree went down somewhere in Pottersville, whether it was a down tree or a branch. It took out some lines, and
Yeah, the police put out a nixle.
and so once again, it's sometimes it's their equipment, and sometimes it's Mother Nature, and what they can do on the trees is more aggressive trimming, which is going to help everyone. Any other on subcommittees?
Real quick with Farmers Market, we have Center for Contemporary Art and Raritan Headwaters. They will participate this summer with us.
That's great, as nonprofits. So thank you, Renee. So the meetings that I attended since our last meeting, I popped in on historic preservation with Doug, and also Colin and I were at the library board meeting, some updates to the library website, that we all see some personnel changes out there, and once again, the library is moving forward under good leadership, and there will be a Meet the Mayors event coming up in May with both Mayor Valone and I in attendance, sponsored by the library. So if you don't want to come here and see the mayor, you can go up to the library. There was no land use board meeting, and just a little more update on the farmers market. So all the farmers market registration packets, they've been finalized. They are on the website. They've been mailed out to a list of about 23, 24 vendors. That's not counting the nonprofits, which will get a separate outreach for participation, right? So that's ongoing right now. And we're looking forward to having a really, another great farmers market season.
Does anybody know a cheese vendor?
Yeah, we're still in need of a cheese vendor. We do have some guys who are selling cheese, but not necessarily dedicated directly to cheese making itself. But that'll be something that we continue to work on throughout the season. And Ms. Sullivan, may we have the administrator's report?
Certainly. A little bit later in the meeting, we will be introducing the 2019 municipal budget. We have one of our auditors here tonight who helped us through that process. I will tell you, last Friday, Debbie Stern and myself spent probably about an hour with the auditor going through, checking every number, making sure every line was correct. So we had a couple of little tweaks we had to do, but it is just as we wanted it to be, coming in at 0.7% increase over the amount to be raised by taxes in 2018. That equates to about $22 per household increase this year. Even though we cut our spending almost $40,000 from appropriations from last year, our appropriations did not go up. But it's all based on the assessments, which I'll be going into more detail at the next meeting on April 15th with a more formal presentation of the actual ins and outs of the budget. What else can I tell you? That's about it. If there are any specific questions when we get to that resolution, you can certainly ask me. You do have a packet in front of you with a full budget packet. Andrew is certainly available for questions as well. Today, April 1st, is the 57th day before the primary election, which is the deadline for petitions to be submitted by 4 p.m. to the municipal clerk for the primary election. We have two Township Committee places that are up for reelection, two 3-year terms, and we did receive 4 petitions from the Republican Party. The petitioners were Doug Stevenson from Ski Hill Drive and Gina Fernandez from Deer Haven Road. They will be the Republican petitioners for the primary. From the Democratic Party, we have Zahir Jan from Timberbrook Drive and Jeffrey Byer from Riverwood Avenue. So those are the 4 petitioners for the primary election. The primary election is June 4th from 6 a.m. to 8 p.m. And to follow up on Ms. Santucci's comment, we did have a Fall Fest meeting last week with our Fall Fest committee. It's made up of 4 executive board members, president, treasurer, vice president, member at large, and then a representative from each of the 7 charities that benefit from the event. We have our meetings about every other month. It's going very well. What we did last year when we canceled the event due to the bad weather, we allowed vendors to ask for a refund if they wished at 50% and leave the other 50% with Bedminster Charities as a down payment on this year's event. I will tell you, the majority of all the vendors and food trucks and exhibitors did that. So we already have a pretty hefty list of returnees, and it's going very strong. So we're very excited, and it will be Saturday, October 26th, 11 to 5. So that's all I have.
Great, thank you, Judy. And just to follow up on the primary elections, once again, we extend appreciation to Doug Stevenson and Gina Fernandez for running for their party nominations, and also to Mr. Jean and Mr. Byer running for their party's nomination as well. So good luck to everyone. And with that, we will move on with the rest of the meeting, which brings us to ordinances. So we have a discussion on introduced ordinances scheduled for public hearing. We have none, but we do have one ordinance to introduce, which is ordinance 2019-02. This is an ordinance to exceed the municipal budget appropriations limits and to establish a cap bank as required under New Jersey statute. Ms. Sullivan, you want to just give us a quick summary?
I knew you'd ask. Stand by, Andrew, you might be needed. So this does not mean that we're increasing the budget at 3.5% as it says in the notes. Every year, as you know, we have a 2% cap. Bedminster's history is we seldom get even close to the 2% cap. So the difference between where our budget actually comes in at and the 2% cap, whatever that delta might be, correct me if I'm wrong, that gets put into a cap bank, all right? It's not a monetary number, it's not any cash, it's just a percentage that is set aside. And if there were an emergency or a need for us to exceed the 2% cap, we have that additional money or additional credit, if you want to call it, banked, that we could tap into it. To my knowledge, and I think John can back me up, I think we did it once in 2009 when I first came on board as administrator. We had a lot of changes, a lot of staff changes, a lot of personnel issues, so there was a slight need, but we seldom even talk about it. So, is that pretty close? Okay.
Now, just a quick question, is that on the levy cap?
Appropriation.
Is the appropriations cap?
And how many, we keep it for 3 years? Okay, it's banked for 3 years, and then if you don't use it, the third year back elapses every year.
And the standard operating procedures for all municipalities is to introduce an ordinance like that, even though it's not going to be necessary?
Correct.
Okay.
It's called the COLA ordinance, the cost of living appropriation. Right.
Cost of living
Adjustment. So if there was an emergency, we have the ability to take action.
And the public hearing for this ordinance is scheduled for April 15, 2019 in these chambers. We have a motion to introduce.
So moved?
Again, all in favor to introduce?
Aye.
Thank you all.
Public hearing of ordinances, we have none. We do have a consent agenda with a few items. Unless anyone has a question regarding any items on the consent agenda, we can approve them en masse. Do we have a motion to approve the consent agenda or pull anything out of there? Seeing no one wants to pull anything out, can we have a motion to approve?
So moved?
Second.
This is a roll call vote. Mr. Stevenson? Mr. Hickey?
Aye.
Ms. Santucci?
Aye.
Mr. Nureski?
Aye.
Mayor Jacob?
Aye.
Thank you all.
There are resolutions that are not of a routine order, and those are not on the consent agenda, and those we will consider individually. The first resolution that we have up for tonight, switch pages, is Resolution 2019-039. This is a change order for the Hillside Avenue Road Improvements Project. It's a change order in the amount of $26,730. Ms. Sullivan and Mr. Mance, could you give an explanation of that resolution,
You want to
please?
go?
I'll go for it then.
Okay.
So as you know, we took bids back in the fall of last year for the repaving and construction of Hillside Avenue. At that time, the engineer had put together a recommendation letter to award a contract to the current contractor, Mezzacola Construction. In that contract, there were two parts of the bid. There was the base bid, and then there's an alternate. The alternate was for drainage work at the northwestern side of Hillside Avenue up by 206. What had happened is that when the recommendation letter came, apparently there was just an error made on the resolution, the original resolution, that we only took the base bid and not the alternate one bid of the $26,730. So this is really a correction to the original contract that was out there for the base and the alternate one bid.
The ordinance that pays for this project was adopted at $270,000. That is about $13,000 over the full amount of the bid, which is $257,000, which would include the base bid and the alternate bid. It was just when we awarded the contract, we only awarded the base bid for $230,000. So the money is there, it's fine. We just, there was an error that wasn't included in that contract. So we are going to amend the resolution and then amend the contract.
So there's no budget impact?
No, none at all.
No budget impact, it's been appropriated and allocated. This is now just the resolution to correct, to bring the resolution consistent with the ordinance that had been previously adopted. Okay, thank you for that explanation. Can we have a motion to move forward with that resolution?
I'll make a motion.
Again, roll call vote. Mr. Stevenson?
Aye.
Mr. Hickey?
Aye.
Ms. Santucci?
Aye.
Ms. Nureski?
Aye.
Mayor Jacob?
Aye.
Thank you.
And John, just a brief detour, just where do we stand on the Hillside Ave paving project?
So at this time, from the emails that I saw, they are supposed to be back working on the project this week.
This week.
Putting some swales in, blacktopping the swales and getting ready for the mill and pave, hopefully within the next week or so, and hopefully it'll be done as indicated by mid-April. Fingers crossed.
Thank you, John. The next resolution is introduction of the 2019 municipal budget. This is resolution number 2019-041. Judy, your notes say the public hearing is scheduled for April 16th. I think that means the 15th at 7 p.m. here in these chambers. And at that time, a presentation of the budget will be given by Administrator Judy Sullivan at the April 15th meeting.
All right.
Now, do you want to talk about, there is something we have to read, right?
I do need you to read this.
Okay. Let's see. This is a municipal budget notice for Township of Bedminster, Resolution 2019-041. The municipal budget of the Township of Bedminster, County of Somerset for the fiscal year 2019. Be it resolved that the following statements of revenues and appropriations shall constitute the municipal budget for the current year. Be it further resolved that said budget be published in the Burnsville News in the issue of April 18, 2019. The governing body of the Township of Bedminster does hereby approve the following as the budget for the current year. And it's got the recorded vote of ayes and nays. Notices hereby given that the budget and tax resolution approved by the governing body of the Township of Bedminster, County of Somerset on April 1st, 2019, a hearing on the budget and tax resolution will be held at the Township Municipal Building on May 6th, 2019, 7:00 p.m., at which time and place objections to said budget and tax resolution for the year 2019 may be presented by taxpayers or other interested parties.
Now, you also have in your packet this page, which is the actual notice that will go in the newspaper along with the information you just read that gives a summary of all the budget information.
So that gets, we have the public hearing on the 15th.
No. You'll have my presentation.
Oh,
on
your
the 15th.
presentation, right. So your
Well,
presentation is on the 15th.
The in-between meeting,
The,
the hearing.
it's published on the 18th, and then the actual hearing is on May 6th.
Correct.
Okay. So with that, can we have a motion to approve that resolution?
Correct.
Second?
And this will be a roll call vote. Mr. Stevenson.
Aye.
Mr. Hickey.
Aye.
Ms. Santucci.
Aye.
Ms. Moreski.
Aye.
Mayor Jacobs.
Aye.
Thank you.
Thank you, and everyone, please come out here for the 15th to see Ms. Sullivan's presentation of the budget. Bring coffee or champagne. Next resolution is Resolution 2019-042. This is authorizing a change of corporate structure for Grateful Spirits, Inc. Chief, should we turn to you on this one?
Sure. So, back in the fall, through resolution, the Township Committee did approve a temporary, I would call it, to continue operations down Grateful Spirits, is also known as Colonial Liquor. That gave the police department time. It was a new owner coming before to take possession of the liquor license. Thorough ABC background investigation was completed through the police department, and everything checked out. So it's recommended that the corporate structure change occurs, and there will be a new owner of the liquor license on record.
Okay. All right, thank you.
So the previous owner passed away suddenly. So.
For no expected changes in the operation, just staying within the family,
It's
just
a
a new
family
structure.
member, yeah.
Family.
Okay. No other questions or comments? Motion to approve, please.
Second?
Again, roll call vote. Mr. Stevenson.
Aye.
Mr. Hickey.
Aye.
Ms. Santucci.
Aye.
Ms. Moreski.
Aye.
Mayor Jacobs.
Aye.
Thank you.
Last resolution is Resolution 2019-045, which authorizes the hiring of a temporary violations clerk in the shared municipal court. Ms. Sullivan and I already had a few conversations about that, but Judy, if you can just give us another update.
Yeah, we have a vacancy. We're not ready to really fill that with a permanent employee. This is actually, there's a class over at the college. There's a number of students taking their preliminary classes to become violations clerks. So we actually did some interviews, and we're offering it to one of those students to come over in a temporary position, see how they work out until we decide how we're going to fill that position for a full-time person.
Great. Thank you. Any other questions or comments from Ms. Sullivan? May we have a motion to approve?
So moved.
Second.
And one last roll call vote. Mr. Stevenson?
Aye.
Mr. Hickey?
Aye.
Ms. Santucci?
Aye.
Ms. Moreski?
Aye.
Mayor Jacobs?
Aye. And we come to the approval of the bill list. So pending review of individual invoices, can we have a motion to approve this week's bill list?
So moved.
Second.
Roll call vote. Mr. Stevenson?
Aye.
Mr. Hickey?
Aye.
Ms. Santucci?
Aye.
Ms. Moreski?
Aye.
Mayor Jacobs?
Aye. Next is discussion items. If there's anything that the Township Committee members want to put up for discussion, that's a good time to do so. And we can head right into new business. Do we have any new business? I don't see anything listed. We do have a number of old business items. So let's start with, on old business, any updates on short-term rental discussions and whether,
I don't have an update on this one.
right. Mr. Bilardo, any further thoughts on updates in law or what other jurisdictions may be doing?
No, Mayor, it's been on over a year. It's up to your discretion whether you want to move it from old business to off your agenda business.
Well, it still does come up, and I guess, Judy, the question is, what are we seeing from an enforcement action or complaints coming from the public?
Occasionally, we get the complaints that we've taken action on, we've either gotten something from one of the neighborhood associations, management companies, who have told us with questions about rentals. and how they might enforce. We have had a couple of residents who call and say that they find things on Airbnb and they question it. Then we reach out to the property owner and have them, bring the property into compliance with the proper registrations and requirements.
So when we are doing that and the township enforcement office is getting involved, does that mean new fire inspections for each lease, for each turnover?
So, anything less than 4 months is considered short-term. If it's more than 4 months of rental, it is allowed. But when there is a turnover of a tenant, you do have to do the smoke detector inspections and provide that service. The landlord needs to be registered here with us, and we do have to have that on record. So we just make sure that all that is in place and is being followed properly and inspections are up to date. So, but a lot of times, people are renting out their property and they didn't know that anything less than 4 months had special conditions. So it's just trying to get the information out to everybody, what's allowed and what's not allowed.
Okay. Is there, would it be something that was that Joe Haggerty or someone else, is there a way of posting some of that information and those rules and requirements up on the website?
Oh, sure. There might be some minimal information, but we could expand on that, maybe actually put, copies of the registrations and things.
Okay.
How does that, though, match up with the neighborhoods? Because their short term is not 4 months, correct? It's a year?
Yeah, usually most of them require a year.
So my question would be, if we said for the town that it's 4 months, but in the hills it's not, would we have any issue with someone saying, well, the town said it was 4 months?
That's up for the condo, that's for the condo boards to enforce themselves.
Okay.
So it's separate and apart from what we would do as a township committee, and we can even put a note on if we do proceed to post those rules and requirements that we have, we could say this is separate and apart from any obligation you may have to your condo board.
Excellent.
Next is engine braking. Mr. Hickey, any updates on there?
There is no update on that, Mayor. We still have that sign out.
Sign still up there?
Yeah, and just, again, some more anecdotal comments from residents who say it seems to be having an impact, So take it for what it's worth.
Good. We'll keep it up there as long as we can. Pluckman Park. So this is the Pluckman Park Senior Community Center, or Senior Community. There has been some action on a number of fronts with Pluckman Park. And Ms. Sullivan, if you don't mind, I will turn that summary over to you.
So you all should have an email packet in front of you. This is back and forth between the person who's managing the neighborhood, who's been working with both our zoning official and our construction official. You'll see in that package, in the back, you'll see the violations that have been issued for the property that needed to be brought up to date. There was, I know Mr. Haggerty went out with Mr. Hickey and they did an on-site meeting with the manager for the facility. Did a walk around and looked at some things, answered a lot of questions. We did get a tentative schedule that you'll see, I think it's listed as page 3, from the property manager of when the various upgrades and repairs were to be scheduled. Then the email you have on top was sent to me last Friday. Our construction official went out there and did a walk-around inspection last Friday. They did find some things are underway, but nothing is completed. He made sure the property manager knows that, all the permits and information is still required. And there is some question about the sewer line, which needs repair. Currently, the sewer line, a portion of the sewer line is on top of the ground, which is not usually where a sewer line goes. And the construction official is very concerned about that and wants whoever the contractor is that's supposedly repairing the sewer line, to meet with him on site to review why does it have to be this way, because that's not normally how it goes. And he wants, he says, you'll be required to open up the existing infrastructure to prove that the variation request is warranted and appropriate, and that it appears there will be multiple issues to be addressed by raising the grade around the sewer pipe of 24 plus inches. So he has a lot of questions that he needs proven before this will be even allowed, because it is very out of the ordinary to have it on top of the ground.
Right, and it's my understanding that sewer line that is being referenced here is not actually within Pluckman Park, but it's with one of the retail units that faces Route 202, 206, and it comes out the back or the side of that one building, so it's not necessarily associated with Pluckman Park, but it's the same owner and it runs onto the Pluckman Park property, so it's something that the
So
common
question is,
property
should it
owner
even
needs
be
to
there?
address.
Yeah, should it even be where they have it?
And it certainly seems like it is not consistent with code and will require enforcement action. So there is, just as everyone has, there's a number of enforcement actions that are pending with a tentative schedule for implementation of some repairs. And I guess we'll just need to follow up and continue to make sure that all our enforcement officials are out there checking up with the contact over at
Yeah,
Pluckman
the
Park.
code enforcement and zoning have been told they should go out there, as often as possible, keep a tab on this so that it doesn't get ahead of us.
Right, and Committeeman Stevenson and I, we think we talked about this, I think, at the last meeting. We had some outreach to a couple residents, and they've identified some issues as well, and we are continuing to work directly with those residents to see they're implemented, and if there's
I spoke to one of them on Friday as well.
right, and if there's a need for any legal action, they'll be appropriately directed. Okay? So we'll continue to keep Pluckman Park on old business as we continue to see those events continue and hopefully repairs be made quickly. Which brings us to the JCPL outages, and Ms. Mareski did talk about some of those outages, but I know we do have folks who are also associated with the HVNMA and the HVMA. And so Jeff and Dawn, if you want to come up and give any thoughts on your discussions with JCP&L and the outreach that you're doing, as well as your document production that you intend on presenting to JCP&L. And so we're going to need you up here at the microphone.
Yeah, sorry, I'm a little bit back issue here. So basically, I mean, we talked the other night, we met on Friday night with Renee and with Colin, and basically, everything she told you is pretty much where we're at this point, which is, we want to throw it over to the Township Committee to deal with Tom and JCP&L, because it makes the most sense for you guys to be the power to deal with the utility and addressing the issues that we've been having. And what we're doing right now is compiling as much information as we can to give to them to make sure that they're armed. Some of it, both Dawn and I did speak with him last week separately. And he pretty much told me the same thing that he told her, but I was trying to look for a little bit more of a commitment on time, and which of course he's not prepared to do yet. So, but that he was meeting with his engineers, and in the next month or two that they should have a little bit more of an idea of exactly what needs to be done at that point after they've spoken with the engineers. But in the meantime, I want to make sure that they have all the information that they need. In other words, where is all this stuff? What kind of shape it's in? You know, what they plan, if anything, to do about it, or work around it, and if they need to do any work to replace this equipment, how that's going to be done. You know, if there are going to be any planned outages. I don't personally think that they need to do that, but I mean, I'm not the expert here. They may tell me something different, but you know, I think that just them knowing that all of us are involved with this and watching every move they're making, I feel is going to help us at least improve the situation. So that's where I'm at.
Great. Now, so it's my understanding that just you guys have documented with photographs the condition of some of the utility cabinets
Yes.
that are situated around Wood Duck and Four Oaks and maybe other.
The whole area. Matter of fact, Jackie did a few more. She's continuing to find more. You know, she went out today, I guess today you went out and did some more. And put names and numbers to all of them, and we're plotting them on a map. So that's the information that I want to provide to him. And they probably already have it, but the question is, how easy can you put his finger on it? You know what I mean? So us having this information is extremely helpful, not just to them, but to us. If, you know, we say, hey, look, power box ABC is rusted out and the lights are flickering and going out, I can tell them that, you know, so it might save us some time. So, you know, getting a solution to whatever the problem might be.
Now, do we know, or can you tell from looking at those cabinets whether those housing transformers or switches or any other electrical, is it specified like that? Are some of those elements, the condition indicative of something that would create an outage?
It can't be good.
So you see corrosion, it's not a good thing for electricity.
Any of it can cause an outage.
Yeah.
You know, that's, I mean, you know, I mean, aside from poles being yanked down after trucks hitting it, I mean, if these things, you know, with all the rain and windstorms that we have lately, you know, any of that can cause it to short out. I mean, just like it does with the street lights all the time, which is something else, you know, which is a separate issue. But, you know, I mean, these boxes, you know, have rust coming out of them. And it isn't even just, I'm going to mention this as well, it isn't even just the risk of outage. Some of these boxes may not be safe.
Correct.
You know, kids and dogs and animals are walking around them, and you know, Jackie was just saying there's another box over there that had a lot of rust on it, high voltage. I mean, what if it, you know, the insulation fails and somebody touches it and, you know, then you got a big problem.
So, quick question, Jackie, as you've been walking around observing the conditions of the boxes and cabinets across the hills, are you noticing any trend between neighborhoods? Are some neighborhoods in better shape?
47 in Wood Duck today alone. So it's not like I've been traipsing through the entire hills. I mean, it's a really, really laborious thing to do. 47 just within Wood Duck.
Just within Wood Duck, 47 of those boxes.
Not 47 transformers, but I would say half were transformers, but also stanchions that are right next to the transformers that are also electrical. And these other things called Eltron boxes. Anyway, so I will continue on and go to Four Oaks, etc.
There's only 200 units in the whole neighborhood, so it's like...
47
That's
elements of some kind of electrical switches, transformers, boxes of some degree or another, 47 for 200 residences.
They may not be all JCP.
They may not.
Yeah, it might be cable, unless are they marked all JCP? They're all JCP?
Telephone, and I excluded the cable boxes.
No kidding.
Good job, Jackie.
Wow.
She's
Good
incredible.
job.
She is incredible.
That's great.
They have no
But anyway,
idea.
I continue on. So I think the question is, have I noticed a trend? Not really, to tell you the truth. I did find that one really, really rusted out box. Well, it's not even a box, it's a stanchion. That looks like if you went like this, it would flip over. And if there is electrical sputter, that could be a problem. But I will, as I proceed, I'll find if there's more of a...
For the camera.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah,
This is
that
one of the pictures that Jackie Weber,
Yep.
was replaced, though.
this one was replaced.
Sometimes they just use duct tape.
Yeah, we saw that, and safety tape, which generally,
You aren't kidding, right?
No, in Crestmont they did that. They just use black tape.
By the time that Tom Haynes comes, I'm sure we'll
Isn't that
have a
great?
complete picture of at least our
So
own
doing
little
keys on.
corner of the world. You know,
Just all mapped
Four Oaks
out,
And Long Meadow, and Birchwood, et cetera.
And Dawn, is that consistent with Hills Village Master as well?
Most of ours have been replaced because we were very proactively going after them. When we called about a few of them, they would come in and literally put duct tape, the silver duct tape over.
Judy, are we catching Dawn on audio?
Yeah, because Dawn's not getting that.
I am getting her comments, yes.
Okay.
Can you just do
Thank-
all the camera?
Thank you, Dawn.
You're welcome, Mr. Mayor. But then we told them that that was totally unacceptable because we find that the kids think that that's fun to try to peel it off.
Of course.
Well, that's
And
it,
if you
yeah.
put your fingers in there and it's high voltage, that's going to be an issue. So they did go in and replace the ones that we had come across. I can only speak to the neighborhoods I was involved with.
So I guess for Renee and Colin, as the discussions evolve with JCP&L, what we're hearing from Dawn is perhaps what may be a critical point to push is the safety issue.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
So outages, okay, they'll deal with outages, but make it a safety issue. It may move up the priority chain within JCP&L for action. Okay,
That's all
so
I have at this point.
Jeff and Jackie and Dawn, thank you so much for your help, and we'll continue to work with you guys on pushing this forward.
Can I just ask one more question?
Jackie, you, of course you can.
Are the businesses, when I gave Tom Haynes a list of the petitioners that had signed a form that I had done, alerting to the meeting last week or the week before, everybody, all the small businesses in Fresh Market, the Fresh Market Mall and the Kings Mall and even the little Pluckerman Mall are very concerned. Are they forming a coalition to work with us to present to JCP&L? Shouldn't they be more concerned than even we are?
Well, I know that they should be more concerned than you are. They certainly should be concerned, because if they're out of power, they're not in business, right?
Right,
Exactly. But I am not aware of them organizing separately or approaching the municipality, or are we aware of them approaching JCP&L on a separate track than what we're doing here? But someone wants to reach out, either from committee or from staff, to reach out to some of those businesses and let them know what we're doing. So if they have their own anecdotes that they want to relate back to JCP&L, and whether they do that directly to JCP&L or through the Township Committee, let's get the information, and we can continue to be the point for that. So, Jackie, did you have some contacts at those, either at the Pluckman Mall or the Fresh Market Mall?
Virtually every single business, except for the pharmacy next to Fresh Market, would not sign. Otherwise, every single person signed, and then thanked me for my service, like I was in
That's great.
a uniform. But every single business, and most of the people that are at the front desk are just, they're not the owners, so they couldn't come to the meeting, but they were going to tell the owners about it. But they're very concerned because they had to cancel classes when we've had the outages, and they've obviously lost money.
So, I'll turn to Colin and Renee.
We'll figure something out. Yep, absolutely.
That's great. So, Jackie, you'll get that information to Colin and Renee,
Yep,
and you guys will pick it up from there.
We have a list of the signatures.
should be great.
That's
Thanks.
That's great.
Yeah.
Once again,
The J team.
the J team is doing a great job with JCP&L.
The J team. It sounds like a band.
That's right.
We got the band together.
Okay, thank you. Which brings us to the second opportunity for public comment. That microphone that is again available for anyone who wants to get up and make a comment. Seeing none, we will go into Township Committee comments. Just a brief reminder, we do have five items on for executive session, so we're going to go through Township Committee comments. We will adjourn to executive session. We will return from executive session. When we return from executive session, we may be taking action. So if anyone wants to see the action that is taken, please stick around. And with that, we will go to Township Committee comments, and once again, we will start off to the right with Mr. Stevenson.
Thank you, Mayor. Just want to follow up my comment from last meeting about the 8th grade tactical game. It went off, it was great. Didn't win, but someone there and told them after the game there's really no shame in losing to a bunch of middle-aged men. Getting their fans off, so they played very hard, and they refused to lose, so the streak continues, but the kids are good. And, you know, it's interesting because you see the kids graduate from our school and then they go off to Burns, to high school, and, you know, it's a nice little event because it's really sort of a culmination of your existence going through K through 8, and, you know, it's the one time that the teachers are actually treating them like equals. And although they never really seem to come out on top of it, it's a learning experience for the kids that, from this point forward, we're not teacher pupil, we're elevated to friends or to a more equal footing. So it's a nice event, and they did a great job putting it together, and the kids had a great time. Turnout was incredible, standing room only like always, so it was a great time.
And thank you to all the coaches who participate in basketball rec and also participate in working with the 8th graders in that their competition against the faculty. So thank you, Doug.
We tried.
Coach Doug.
Coach Doug.
After Coach K lost, you might have an opportunity.
There's nobody.
You got the Doug part, you got Coach.
Mr. Hickey.
Mayor, thank you. I just want to recognize, not to belabor the JCP&L, but the contributions and the work of the residents. You see some of them here tonight. There's more in the background. I mean, the level of commitment to work with the town and to work with our local communities to get this issue resolved is amazing. It's Jackie taking these pictures. It's a spreadsheet that goes back, 10 years of all the outages, by time, by date, documenting things. There's documentation on letters that go back that far as well. All this information has been shared with us. It's tremendous because it gives us the assets, the knowledge, and the insight then to go back intelligently to JCP&L and discuss why these things are happening and help move them from being reactive, which is, they're running from fire to fire, putting it out, to focusing more on being proactive, which I think we all would want and appreciate. So thank you for all your efforts, and I know Renee and I look forward to working with you to get this thing resolved with JCP&L. So much appreciated. Thank you. And that's all, Mayor.
Thank you, Mr. Hickey. Ms. Santucci.
Just, it's interesting. I think that JCP&L, I think Tom was very surprised that evening of the knowledge that everybody had. And, he kind of stepped back. He's new, but I think that he probably feels that together we can make it work. Because really coming into a room with people going, well, I need this, I need that, I think he really was pleasantly surprised. Probably when he left, he thought about it and he said, okay, I'm pleasantly surprised. But, we're so lucky. So Bedminster is such a special place that it really, I think it's going to be very helpful to have people who, like you said, have the information and knowledge. He can't do it by himself. He needs you to help him do it. So thank you. And thanks for coming tonight and keeping us company again. Appreciate it.
Ms. Murphy.
Again, exactly what these, so really appreciate everybody's input. And I look forward to June 1st. We're going to have a party at JBH and the farmer's market.
All right.
All right.
So thank you. A couple things I just want to mention. One is, there have been complaints about the DOT, now the former ramp off of 287. That was 22A, or the old 22A, which looks like it's become a bit of a mud puddle. They're not seeming to be draining at all. John, I'm not sure if you have any update. I have done outreach to our DOT municipal liaison, asking for some action out there to remove some of the equipment or at least drain that.
Though, on the pavement, coming out of Hills Drive going northbound, there's a lot of markouts written on the pavement. Is they gonna?
I don't know what that is, I have no idea.
It looks like they're gonna do something. I don't know.
There's a lot of activity in that general area now. They're using it as a staging area for some part of the process somewhere. Don't know where, it's not there.
I mean, the equipment is there, the construction trailer is there,
Right.
but I don't see a whole lot of activity around that trailer.
That project should be done. It should be cleaned up just as you suggested.
Well, Saturday night, there was a lot of activity, and as I came off of 287 onto the highway, I actually called the police because I almost drove up the back end of one of the work trucks on our brand-new highway, exit that you're supposed to be able to go right in front of me was a big truck. So I called these guys right away, just to let you know. So there's stuff going on, even though it was raining. So I don't know what they were doing, but they were in my way.
And every time it rains, that area fills up with more water and is not draining because it's on the old roadbed. So it's just gathering, and we're becoming shortly to mosquito season and other seasons. So hopefully that we can work with DOT to move them along, just as we did when we were pushing them along to finish the ramp to begin
If I
with.
could just add, we were reached out to from Meredith I reached out to the chief, John Mance, and our emergency services. I think I mentioned it to you, with the refurbishment that they're doing on the bridge over 78 out on Rattlesnake Bridge Road. Part of the plan proposing to remove the fencing that goes, since
Right.
it won't be a pedestrian area with sidewalks, they're not going to put up the safety fencing that normally goes on either side of the bridge. They asked for the project proposal doesn't call for it because it's not a pedestrian area. So I reached out to the chief and John and emergency services, and I have to get back to them by Wednesday if you have any comments. But their comment together was, no, we want the fence, absolutely. I mean, a lot of cyclists out there, a lot of, I don't know, I'd be afraid something's going off the side of the bridge, so
Yeah.
Easily.
I think we need the fencing.
Yeah, which is interesting. I obviously don't know the DOT spec, but you would almost think that would be standard operating, that any bridge over a highway.
I mean, you hit a rock
People
and
see
you
like
go
the video
over.
for every 17-year-old
Yes.
that's gonna take to the car, and the guy drops the rock
Right.
down and goes in the window and stuff. I still think about that.
Right.
It's like,
Wasn't there a turkey at some point?
Yeah, yeah.
Bowling ball.
Yeah, up in Turkey.
It's ridiculous.
And unfortunately, that lady just passed away.
I didn't.
Yeah, that's right. It's just in the news.
Yeah, we need to,
So we're sending back, no one
Fence,
fence.
Put the fence up, right.
$10,000 worth of fence to save a life? Come on, no brainer.
Right. It does not seem like a big expense for DOT to maintain those fences. The other item that I would like to discuss before we head to executive session is, it's been circulated throughout the town and certainly on Township Committee, that once again, and we're used to in Bedminster, right? We're used to being at top of a list.
Yay.
Right, but so once again, third most livable town for families in New Jersey, so that's 565 towns. Made number 3, so once again, you know, kudos to everyone on staff and who works here and really, you know, keeps Bedminster operating smoothly, and the coaches and the teachers and the police, everyone who's involved. So once again, thank you for your hard work, and to the residents, right? Because it's the residents, we just talked about it, right? So that there's an issue with JCP&L, and we're able to galvanize together to work with this nameless, faceless utility and try to bring them to action. And really, thank you guys for all your help.
they were impressed.
Yeah.
And we were proud to have
Yeah.
people here who, you know, we advertise a meeting, and there's nothing worse than when nobody comes. And so when they walked in, you know, we had our troops.
Water company's next.
Jackie's already on top of dealing with the water company.
We call our committee the utility committee.
That's good. That's good. Jackie's right on top of that. Jackie and I have, obviously, we've been going back and forth on some of the actions by New Jersey American Water, and I'm glad you got your money back, Jackie.
Not yet.
Yet.
I said it's on the way.
All right. Well, tell us if we need to get involved, and continue to keep me copied on that.
Mayor, who should be the award for Bedminster? The third.
That was off the. That was what, the patch.
The patch, it's,
I
oh
forget.
my goodness, I don't have it in front of me.
Have to take a look.
NJ.com.
NJ.com, but it was a private organization that did the study, and they categorized, it's based on, you know, your taxes, your police department, you know, the recreation, parks. I mean, it's a lot of different categories and factors. Was it NJ.com? I mean, I had it.
I saw it off the patch.
It's on the patch,
It
but
was on the patch.
posted from somewhere
It was
else.
on the Burnsville-Bedminster patch last week. And I shared it at as many places as I could.
New Jersey Family Magazine.
New Jersey Family
All
Magazine.
right. There you go.
And it's been on social media too, thanks to Officer and other people. So it's good to see them.
With that, can we have a motion to move to executive session? Once again, we will be returning from executive session, and we will most likely be taking some action as we come back to the live session.
So moved.
Second?
All in favor?
Aye.
Okay. All right. We'll see you in a few minutes.
Is it worth it?
I think Dawn wants to go home.
Okay, we're back.
We are back. We are back from executive session, and we do have one matter to address, which is resolution number 2019-044. This resolution authorizes the appointment of a new general foreman to the Public Works Department. Any questions or comments about the resolution?
No.
We have a motion to approve.
So moved.
Second.
This requires a roll call vote. Mr. Stevenson?
Aye.
Mr. Hickey?
Aye.
Ms. Santucci?
Aye.
Ms. Nureski?
Aye.
Mayor Jacobs?
Aye. Thank you all. So congratulations on the new foreman, and congratulations, John Mance, for doing a great job on those interviews, and for everyone who assisted him. Committeeman Stevenson and Committeeman Hickey, thank you very much. And with that, that is the end of our meeting. Thank you all. Motion to adjourn.
Second.
Aye.
Aye? Good night.
Not at all.
Adios.
Adios, muchachos.
Ciao, muchachos.